Now we will move on to the next question, which is again we are moving chronology, and now we are going to understand what do we understand in the context of modern history, right? Modern historical discourse, and how can we situate, how can we talk about certain chronologies. And it's very important. If you look at the previous year question papers of CUET PG, you will notice this, that they have asked a lot of questions from chronology, be it ancient history, be it medieval history, be it modern history. What we have to also do is to take care of the chronology. We have to be sure about the chronology that we are talking about. We have to be sure about the dynasties, कब start हो रही है, कौन कर रहा है. We have to be sure about relative chronologies of particular people, particular text, right? Particular dynasties. So it will be very helpful for us to answer these kind of questions which have the match and following. And most of these match of the following, yeah, uh, all the kind of these kind of comparative analytical questions will be dealing with chronology in the context of CUET PG, right? So we will dealing with the questions of uprising. These four: Santhal uprising, Bengal Indigo resistance, Deccan uprising, coal uprising. All of these four uprisings are part of the 19th century resistance against the British government, right? Now, when we are talking about these movements, we have to take into consideration कि कौन कौन से movement कब कब लड़े हुए थे, कौन लड़ रहा था, और which region they are talking about, because these projects can come as a separate subtopic, right? Within if you have read any kind of historical book, you will find the tribal movement, tribal and peasant movement as a subtopic. So this is something that you need to take into consideration, right? Now we'll try to understand कि कौन कौन से major uprising है. इसमें आपको कोड दिया हुआ है which will make a lot of things easier. If you are given code, easy चीज ये है कि if you know even one or two of the right answer, you will be able to match with the other one or two of them, right? But we will try to understand all of them. Santhal uprising, Bengal Indigo resistance, Deccan uprising, coal uprising. Now, Santhal resistance happened in the year 1855-56, right? You must be knowing the Sidhu and Kanu, one of the two brothers, they are all other people also involved in the Santhal Hool, right? What we call it Santhal Hool. Santhal uprising was a larger part of the introduction of the Zamindari system uh, in the Santhal region, which actually led to the uh, marginalization of Santhal from their own territory. And this is a thing, this is a factor that is responsible for almost all the major uprising, the coming of non-tribal people into the tribal zone and the marginalization of the local community, and how Britishers were trying to usurp the regions or resources to quench their thirst of power as well as resources. So how the resources will be distributed, how the resources will be disseminated among people, this was a question of became a question of resistance among these community. So Santhal resistance happened in the year 1855-56, just before the 1857 uprising. Bengal Indigo resistance, that we understand Bengal Indigo movement. Indigo was a very vital component of trade during the 19th century, and therefore the Britishers, and it was a cash crop, and Britishers always wanted profit, so they always preferred cash crop over food crop, right? Which actually was detrimental for the local peasants, and therefore the indigo plantation, indigo resistance was an attempt to dissuade the British government to enforce the plantation of indigo on forcefully by the peasants, right? So Neel Kranti basically is known as, it happened just uh, at the brink of 1857 revolt, after when the 1857 revolt was on its last leg or almost finished, right? Indigo plantation was comparatively more successful in bringing about a change in the way indigo plantation was happening in Bengal. So basically after this we find a shift in the indigo plantation from Bengal to the region of Bihar, where it sustained for another 50 years, after which Teen Kutia system was challenged, right, due to the introduction of German dye, and Mahatma Gandhi had to play a very vital role in the uh, Champaran movement, right? So here, what we find is that Bengal Indigo resistance movement happened 50 years, 50, 60 years before the Champaran movement. So basically, it happened in the year 1859-60. Now, the third is the Deccan Uprising. Deccan Uprising happened in the regions of Maharashtra, in the regions of Pune, right? Pune riot. So, Deccan Uprising was a movement that happened in the context of cotton plantation, right? Cotton plantation was very significant in the 1860s because of the ongoing civil war in America, which disrupted the flow of cotton plantation to the British cotton mills, right? So these areas, Deccan became one of the major regions from where cotton was supplied to other regions, right? So peasants were encouraged to grow cotton. They were giving sumptuous loans. They were given a lot of these facilities. But after a few years of very high rise of cotton plantation, we see after the end of American Civil War in 1865, right, we see a resumption of cotton export from USA, right, and therefore the demand of cotton from the Indian peasant declined, and so the Indian peasant were in severe debts, right. So basically, this was a resistance by the peasants against the ruthless taxation system, right, against the kind of system that made them that led them to penury, right. So Deccan Uprising happened aftermath of American Civil War. It happened in the year 1875-76. And lastly, we come to the coal uprising, which is one of the earliest uprising of tribal movement that we see in the year 1831-32 in the Chota Nagpur region. Right, this is the region which is very significant for its mining, very significant for its resources, but it is also the region where we find a dominance of a lot of different sects, right, tribal communities, and who were very angry with the kind of land distribution system that was taking place in the region. So what was happening was that a lot of non-tribal people were farmed out the land. The kind of land that was given to them in exchange of this was very poor, right? And Britishers were trying to infuse themselves into the matters of governance of the local territories, of the tribal communities, right? So the tribal people resisted this attempt of Britishers trying, not just Britishers, but all the kind of zamindar. This particular movement was not just about uh, fighting against the Britishers, and this was common for almost any tribal movement. That it was not just meant for the Britishers, not meant for against the Britishers, but also against the zamindari class, the landowning class, the moneylenders class, all of them who were considered to be oppressors. Right. So coal uprising happened in the year 1831-32 because the movement turned very violent. A lot of uh, houses were looted, a lot of people were killed, right? A lot of violence took place in the uprising, so it had to be subjugated. So 1831-32. So now let me see what we can see is that A is equal to 4, B is equal to 3, C is equal to 2, and D is equal to 1. So our fourth option, this is our right option based on our reading of this particular question, right?